Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, on the island of Corsica, which was a French territory at the time. His family belonged to the minor nobility, and his father, Carlo Bonaparte, was a lawyer and a political figure who worked for the French administration. Napoleon was sent to mainland France for education at the age of 9, where he studied at several institutions, including the prestigious military school in Brienne-le-Château and later at the École Militaire in Paris. He trained to be an artillery officer, and his early years were marked by a strong interest in military strategy and tactics. Napoleon began his military career as a second lieutenant in the French artillery. He quickly gained recognition for his talent, especially during the French Revolution, which started in 1789. As France was torn apart by revolutionary fervor and internal conflict, Napoleon found an opportunity to rise through the ranks. His first major success came in 1793, when he played a crucial role in recapturing the port city of Toulon from the British, earning the rank of brigadier general. Napoleon's association with revolutionary ideals, particularly his support for the Jacobins, helped to further his military career. In 1796, Napoleon was given command of the French army in Italy. His leadership during the Italian campaign was marked by impressive victories and strategic innovations. The campaign significantly expanded France's influence in Italy and secured Napoleon's reputation as a brilliant military strategist. By the end of 1797, he had forced the Austrians to sign a peace treaty, which brought Italy under French influence and solidified Napoleon's standing as one of the leading figures in France. Following his success in Italy, Napoleon turned his attention to Egypt, hoping to disrupt British trade routes to India. In 1798, he led an expedition to Egypt, where he achieved some victories but ultimately faced setbacks, including the British naval victory at the Battle of the Nile. Despite these challenges, Napoleon's time in Egypt helped solidify his myth as an almost invincible military leader, especially due to his scientific and cultural achievements during the campaign, such as the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. In 1799, the political situation in France was unstable, and Napoleon returned to Paris. There, he became involved in the coup of 18 Brumaire, which led to the fall of the French Directory. Napoleon took control of the French government and established a consulate, with himself as first consul, consolidating his power and effectively ending the revolution's chaotic phase. His political acumen, along with his military genius, enabled him to quickly establish a stable government. In 1804, he declared himself Emperor of the French, a position that was confirmed through a plebiscite. This marked the beginning of the Napoleonic Empire. As emperor, Napoleon sought to consolidate French power in Europe. He enacted numerous legal and administrative reforms, most notably the Napoleonic Code, which was a comprehensive set of civil laws that influenced legal systems around the world. His ambition was to create a European empire under French dominance, and he pursued this goal through a series of military campaigns known as the Napoleonic Wars. These wars, which began in 1803 and lasted until 1815, were fought between Napoleon's French Empire and various European coalitions. Napoleon achieved stunning successes in battles, such as Austerlitz in 1805 and Jena Auerstedt in 1806, establishing French control over much of Europe. However, his empire eventually began to unravel due to several key factors. One of the most significant was the invasion of Russia in 1812. Napoleon's decision to invade Russia with a massive army of over 600,000 soldiers proved disastrous. The Russian forces employed a scorched-earth strategy, retreating further into their vast territory and burning everything in their path. This left Napoleon's army without supplies and, after a series of battles, the French were forced to retreat. The Russian campaign severely weakened Napoleon's army and diminished his aura of invincibility. The subsequent years saw a steady decline in Napoleon's fortunes. In 1813, after suffering defeats in the Battle of Leipzig, he was forced to retreat to France, and in 1814, a coalition of European powers, comprising Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, invaded France. Napoleon was eventually forced to abdicate on April 6, 1814, and was exiled to the island of Elba off the coast of Italy. However, Napoleon's exile was brief. In 1815, he escaped from Elba and returned to France, where he regained control of the government for a period known as the 100 Days. His return to power was short-lived, though, as he was decisively defeated at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815, by a coalition army led by the Duke of Wellington. Following his defeat, Napoleon was forced to abdicate again and was exiled to the island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, a remote and isolated location. There, he lived under British supervision until his death. Napoleon Bonaparte died on May 5, 1821, on St. Helena, at the age of 51. The cause of his death is widely believed to be stomach cancer, though there have been various theories over the years suggesting possible poisoning. His legacy is complex, as he is remembered both for his extraordinary military genius and for his role in shaping European history. His reforms, particularly the Napoleonic Code, had a lasting impact on legal systems around the world, and his military tactics are still studied in military academies. Despite his downfall, Napoleon's influence on France and Europe remains undeniable, and he continues to be one of the most studied and debated figures in history. Napoleon's impact on the world extended far beyond his lifetime. His reign fundamentally reshaped the political and social landscape of Europe. The Napoleonic Wars led to the dismantling of old empires and the rise of new political structures. Many of the territories Napoleon conquered or influenced adopted various reforms, particularly the adoption of the Napoleonic Code, which became a model for legal systems in many countries. For example, in countries like Italy, Spain, and various regions in Germany, the Napoleonic Code laid the foundation for modern civil law, replacing older, outdated systems. One of Napoleon's lasting legacies is his role in the spread of nationalism across Europe. Before his rise, Europe was largely organized along the lines of feudal kingdoms and empires. Napoleon's conquests, while militaristic, also fostered the development of national identities in places like Germany and Italy. His efforts to unify Italy, although unsuccessful in the long term, contributed to the rise of Italian nationalism and eventual unification decades after his fall. Similarly, Napoleon's influence in Germany accelerated the process of political unification, which culminated in the creation of the German Empire in 1871. Napoleon's role in shaping European geopolitics can also be seen through the lasting effects of the Congress of Vienna in 1815. After Napoleon's defeat, European powers convened at the Congress of Vienna to redraw the map of Europe and restore stability. The goal was to prevent any single power from dominating Europe as Napoleon had. The decisions made at the Congress, however, created tensions that would later contribute to the outbreak of World War I nearly a century later. The redrawing of borders and the restoration of monarchies were part of the broader. While some works celebrate his military genius and political reforms, others focus on his personal failings, especially his overreach and the ultimate collapse of his empire. His dramatic rise from a modest background to Emperor of the French, followed by his equally dramatic fall, has all the elements of a classic narrative of hubris and tragedy. Napoleon Bonaparte, in the end, remains one of history's most compelling figures. His life exemplifies the extraordinary potential for individuals to shape history and the consequences of wielding immense power. His achievements and flaws are inseparable, and it is in the tension between these aspects that his true legacy lies. His name continues to be synonymous with power, genius, and controversy, and it is likely that future generations will continue to debate the meaning and implications of his rule, ensuring that his impact on world history remains as profound as it was in his own time. The legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte also extends beyond the political and military realms, influencing cultural, artistic, and intellectual movements. His reign helped shape the Romantic movement in art and literature, where the themes of individualism, heroism, and the sublime were explored in ways that reflected his extraordinary rise to power and his eventual downfall. Many artists and writers, including those in France and throughout Europe, were inspired by the larger-than-life figure of Napoleon. His grandiose image and his eventual tragic end fit perfectly into the romantic fascination with the sublime, the heroic, and the inevitable destruction of great figures. Napoleon's impact on the arts and culture also had practical consequences, as he was a patron of the arts and played a central role in shaping the intellectual climate of his time. Under his reign, the French government fostered advancements in fields such as science, technology, and the arts. He encouraged innovations in architecture, giving rise to neoclassical structures that reflected the grandeur of the empire. The Arc de Triomphe in Paris, for example, stands as a monumental tribute to his military victories and the grandeur of his reign. Napoleon also supported the creation of the Louvre Museum as a public institution to house the masterpieces of art that had been looted from the territories he conquered, cementing his legacy as a patron of culture. Furthermore, Napoleon's influence can be seen in the political ideologies that emerged in the 19th century. His success in consolidating power through a strong central government and his vision of a united Europe under French leadership resonated with later European leaders who sought to unify their own nations. Napoleon's model of a meritocratic government, where individuals were promoted based on ability rather than birthright, inspired future leaders and was particularly influential in shaping the development of modern political systems. Napoleon's impact also extended to military technology and organization. His army was one of the most advanced in terms of organization, logistics, and tactics. He reformed the French military into a highly efficient, rapidly mobilized fighting force, incorporating new technologies such as the use of artillery and the organization of corps into his strategies. His battle tactics, particularly his use of the centralized reserve, continue to be studied and are still considered innovative in military theory. The enduring fascination with Napoleon also speaks to the complexities of his character. Historians and psychologists have long been intrigued by the contradictory elements of his personality. On one hand, Napoleon demonstrated an exceptional understanding of statecraft, a talent for organization, and a visionary approach to governance. On the other hand, his obsession with power, coupled with his authoritarian tendencies, led to his downfall. His ambitious nature, coupled with his lack of restraint, eventually led him to make reckless decisions, such as the invasion of Russia, which shattered his empire. This psychological complexity has made Napoleon a figure of enduring interest for biographers and scholars who attempt to understand the internal motivations that drove him. Some scholars view Napoleon's sense of destiny and self-perception as crucial to his actions. He believed himself to be a man chosen by fate to lead and transform Europe. His rise, driven by his belief in his own exceptionalism, made him a symbol of the potential for greatness, but also of the dangers of unchecked ambition. The debate surrounding Napoleon's role in history also raises broader questions about the nature of leadership and its impact on society. His leadership style, one that combined military brilliance with a strong political vision, has been both admired and criticized. While his supporters point to his contributions to France and Europe, such as the establishment of the Napoleonic Code and his military victories, his critics emphasize the destruction caused by his wars and the authoritarian nature of his rule. Napoleon's role in shaping the trajectory of European history also aligns with his reputation as a man of contradictions. He has been described both as a champion of the people, who brought reforms and stability to France, and as an imperialist conqueror, whose quest for control and dominance led to the suffering of millions. His ability to inspire loyalty in his troops and his capacity to maintain control over an entire continent through military force demonstrate his extraordinary influence, yet his ultimate defeat underscores the fragile nature of power. The broader influence of Napoleon is still felt today, especially in the context of political movements that advocate for centralized control, national unity, and the pursuit of national greatness. Leaders who seek to impose order and structure in times of crisis often look to Napoleon as a model of how a leader can consolidate power, but his downfall serves as a cautionary tale for those who seek to impose their will on others without regard for the consequences. In modern times, discussions of Napoleon often intersect with broader themes, such as empire building, nationalism, and the complexities of war. While his era has passed, the ethical, political, and military lessons from his reign continue to offer valuable insights for contemporary leaders. The study of Napoleon allows for a deeper understanding of the dynamics of power, the role of individual agency in shaping history, and the complex interplay between leadership and legacy. Today, Napoleon's legacy remains entrenched in French culture and identity. In addition to his tomb at Les Invalides, his influence is apparent in numerous public spaces, monuments, and even street names across France and other parts of Europe. National celebrations, such as the annual Bastille Day celebrations, occasionally evoke his memory and his association with the ideals of the French Revolution and the creation of modern France. In conclusion, Napoleon Bonaparte's life and legacy have transcended the boundaries of his time. His military achievements, political reforms, and his role in shaping the modern world continue to be subjects of study, fascination, and debate. Whether viewed as a visionary or a tyrant, Napoleon's story is a testament to the extraordinary power of individual ambition and the lasting impact one man can have on the course of history. His rise and fall encapsulate the complexities of leadership and the ways in which one figure can both shape and be shaped by the turbulent forces of history. Effort to preserve the old order, but the influence of the Napoleonic era continued to be felt in the political and military conflicts that followed. Despite his exile and death in St. Helena, Napoleon became a symbol of power, ambition, and the complexities of leadership. His legend grew over time, and by the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Napoleon had become a subject of fascination for historians, novelists, and artists. The image of Napoleon as both a military genius and a man who sought to establish a new world order, sometimes viewed as a hero, sometimes as a tyrant, became central to the narrative of his life. Napoleon also became a controversial figure in France. His legacy has been debated extensively, with some viewing him as a hero who brought stability, legal reforms, and glory to France, while others criticize him for his autocratic rule, militarism, and the wars that caused so much destruction across Europe. His dynasty, the Bonapartists, continued to play a role in French politics long after his death. His nephew, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, became Emperor Napoleon III in 1852, ruling France until his defeat in the Franco-Prussian War in 1870. However, the Second French Empire ultimately collapsed, and the Third Republic was established. In modern times, Napoleon's reputation remains a mixture of admiration and criticism. His contributions to military strategy, particularly in the realms of battlefield tactics and organization, are studied in military academies around the world. His innovations in governance, like merit-based appointments and civil reforms, have had a lasting impact. Napoleon's leadership style, marked by his charismatic presence and his ability to inspire loyalty among his soldiers, continues to be analyzed by both scholars and leaders seeking to understand the dynamics of power. Furthermore, his life has inspired countless works of literature, art, and film, cementing his place as one of history's most enduring figures. Whether portrayed as a visionary leader, a ruthless conqueror, or a tragic figure caught in the tides of history, Napoleon's story continues to captivate the imagination of people worldwide. Napoleon's legacy is deeply intertwined with France's national identity. His remains were returned to France in 1840 under the reign of King Louis Philippe, and they were interred in a grand tomb at Les Invalides in Paris, where they remain to this day. This symbolic return, along with the continued presence of his image in popular culture, solidified his status as a pivotal figure in both French and world history. In the end, Napoleon Bonaparte's life and legacy reflect the complexities of historical interpretation. His rise to power, military genius, and ambitious vision for Europe shaped the course of history in ways that continue to influence the world. His story is one of extraordinary triumph and tragic downfall, a reflection of both the potential for greatness and the perils of overreach. Napoleon remains, for many, a reminder of the fine line between glory and ruin, and the enduring consequences of one's actions in the annals of history. Napoleon's enduring legacy also prompted an ongoing debate about the nature of his rule and the philosophical implications of his rise and fall. Some see him as a revolutionary figure who upheld the principles of the French Revolution, such as meritocracy, legal equality, and secular governance. He abolished feudal privileges and carried out profound reforms, particularly with the creation of the Napoleonic Code, which was one of his most lasting contributions to legal thought. This legal code emphasized uniformity, legal equality, and civil rights, fundamental ideas that would go on to shape modern legal systems in Europe, Latin America, and beyond. Others, however, criticized Napoleon for his authoritarian tendencies. Although he initially came to power under the banner of the French Revolution and the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, his transformation into emperor raised questions about the limits of his commitment to republican values. His centralization of power and creation of a dynastic monarchy undercut the very principles that had initially propelled him to prominence. His autocratic rule and suppression of political dissent, especially following the establishment of the empire, have led many historians to argue that he was ultimately more of a dictator than a true revolutionary. Napoleon's influence on European and global diplomacy cannot be overstated. His military campaigns caused massive changes in the political structure of Europe with the rise of nationalism, the spread of the ideas of the French Revolution, and the eventual dismantling of the old monarchical order. The redistribution of power, with new political boundaries and the reorganization of European states, laid the groundwork for many of the future conflicts that defined European history in the 19th and 20th centuries. His desire to create a united Europe, however, was ultimately thwarted by the very forces he had unleashed, including nationalism, which worked against him as much as it aided his initial conquests. Moreover, the long-term impact of his policies on military tactics and warfare is significant. Napoleon's campaigns forever changed the way wars were fought. His use of mass conscription and the mobilization of large armies transformed the scale of warfare, and his emphasis on rapid movement, decisive battles, and the coordination of different military branches, artillery, cavalry, and infantry, set new standards for military leadership and organization. The Napoleonic style of warfare was studied and emulated by military leaders worldwide, influencing conflicts up to World War I and beyond. In the academic world, Napoleon's life and legacy are the subject of intense scholarly interest. Historians have sought to explore every aspect of his reign, from his political ideas and military innovations to his personal life and the intricacies of his relationships with those around him. One notable focus of study has been Napoleon's character, his leadership style, and the psychological factors that drove his decisions. He is often portrayed as both a charismatic leader who could inspire deep loyalty in his soldiers and a deeply flawed man whose overconfidence and ambition led to his downfall. Napoleon's personal life has also been the subject of fascination. His relationships, particularly with Josephine de Beauharnais, whom he married in 1796, and his later marriage to Marie-Louise of Austria, are part of the narrative of his rise and fall. His first marriage to Josephine was deeply emotional, though it ended in divorce in 1810 due to Josephine's inability to produce an heir. His second marriage to Marie-Louise produced a son, Napoleon II, but by the time of Napoleon's final exile, his son was taken away from him and raised in Austria, effectively ending the Bonaparte dynasty. Napoleon's death, though it occurred in relative obscurity on the isolated island of St. Helena, set the stage for his posthumous rehabilitation. Over the years, his tomb in Les Invalides has become a pilgrimage site for admirers and historians alike, a testament to the deep impact he had on France and the world. His complex legacy continues to resonate in global politics, military strategy, and the study of leadership and governance. In modern popular culture, Napoleon's image has undergone transformations as well. For many, he remains a symbol of greatness and ambition, with portrayals of his life appearing in films, literature, and artworks.